Hello snowboarders of the internet, I'm your host Avran LeFeber, and in this video we're going to go over all the adjustments on the Rome Cleaver so that you can be fully dialed in so that your boot fits perfectly in one of the most adjustable bindings on the market. So we're going to find out if you need to put the strap high, the strap low, maybe you need to cant your high backs or rotate them. We're going through all those adjustments for you. So let's dive right into it.
All right, so you want to adjust your Rome Cleaver's heel cup. You need to remove your foot pad. Reach from the back, pop it up, grab it from the front, yank until it comes out. It will come out, trust me. You will have 2 screws, one on each side at the front of the binding, as well as 2 screws on the heel. You will need to lefty-loosey these. What we're gonna do is just loosen those all the way up. We're gonna get them nice and loose. This will allow the heel cup to slide forward or backwards. If you have a smaller boot, you want it all the way forward. If you have the largest boot for that setting, all the way back. Somewhere in the middle, there you go. And if you've got a weird shaped boot or something, you may need to play around with this. But you will see that once they're loose, you can slide these forward and backwards. For the sake of this video, we're going all the way back. Make sure that you tighten these as tight as you can because these do get loose. You want to check these screws probably about every 10 days or so if you get over 100 days on them. As someone that has been riding Rome bindings forever, as you all know, with my Rome Black Label bindings and any review for any board I test, I constantly check these about once a week. Why? Because I ride copious amounts of days. If you don't, they will probably stay. After you have those tightened down, put your foot pad back on. Make sure you line it up, you get it in those grooves, slide it back, push down where the 2 X's are to get it to lock. This will make it easier for you to adjust it later or to play with it. Below the pivot mount system are 2 screws that hold your high back on. This will be part of your high back alignment if you want it to be parallel to your heel edge, as well as being able to cant it between 0, 3, and 6 degrees. I do not know anyone that does the high back canting, but the option is there. Take your number 3 screwdriver, loosen up the screws that hold it in place. You do not have to fully remove them, but you do want these to be a little loose on both sides. Once you have done that, you want to slide the outside where the ratchets are all the way forward. You want to make sure that that nub is facing in. You're going to then lock it in to the teeth grooves, holding it in place. Take your number 3 screwdriver and tighten this back down. You want to get this in there nice and snug. Now that we've tightened this down, this may get a little bit snug. You may have to loosen it just a little more. Give it a half turn to a full turn, but you want to make sure that you can get in there and slide this back as well as flip this piece out if you have to. So you're going to flip it around so it's facing forward. Slide it to the back or wherever angle you want for this high back. You're going to then scream and yell at it because it's fighting you the whole way and you're going to be pissed at it. This is normal. It is normal. Normalize yelling at inanimate objects. It makes you sane. You're going to hold it in place. When you do, righty-tighty. It may slip around on you. You need to make sure that it is in those grooves. But once you've got it lined up, start tightening it down, right? When it's tightened down, you can crank this in. Keep cranking, tighten it down, get it in. Now, you can see with the side that ratchets are out, right? As this is my right binding. If we had this angled, that high back is now parallel to my heel edge. If the screwdriver was my heel edge, it is now parallel to it. You have successfully rotated the high back. One more adjustment that I nearly forgot, and I do not know anyone that uses, is the ability to cant your high back. If you remove the screws that hold the high back on, fully remove them, you will notice that the washers have a 0, a 3, and a 6 degree placement. If you play around with these by taking them out and flipping them and moving them around, you can actually change the angulation of where your high back sits. So if you want it like a little more kicked in, a little more kicked out, you can do it. Honestly, having this setting on my black labels, I've never used it. I've never seen anyone actually use it, but it is there. And you basically just have to lefty-loosey the screws below the pivot mount, take them completely out, and then you can flip them around how you want. I'm not even gonna show you how to do it because honestly, I don't know anyone that does. We have one final adjustment for you, and you can do this on the fly. The forward lean tab. Flip it down, slide it down to get more forward lean, slide it up to have less. If you want it in the middle, that's fine. It is all personal preference. Flick it back up to lock it, and boom. Now your high back has a little more angle to it. It's gonna force you to bend your knees.
All right, so we're probably halfway through the adjustments on this. I don't really know where we are at this point. There's just so many on the Cleaver. But I need you to do something for me. Go down, click like, give this thing a thumbs up. Helps feed the YouTube algorithm, I guess. I don't know. And while you're down there, why don't you subscribe? Click the bell, get those notifications, because let's be real, these aren't the only bindings you're gonna need to know how to dial in, and we've got videos coming out for all of them. All of them.
Now we're going to talk about the most adjustable portion on Rome bindings. Anything with this pivot mount gives you 64 points of adjustment. You can make this sit lower, you can make it sit higher, you can make one side sit lower, one side sit higher. It all depends on how you want it. The reasoning behind this is it will change the instep pressure of how the strap sits on your boot. So if you have instep pressure, you may want to go lower, you may want to go higher. It is personal preference. To adjust this, take the number 3 screwdriver, stick it on these screws. You do not have to fully remove them, but they are a little longer than you think. You will loosen them up a fair amount. Now that they're loose, release the ratchet. You will notice that you can push it and pull it out. When you pull it out, you can move it up or down, depending where you want it. For this video, we're gonna just put it a little high, and you wanna make sure that it lines up with the grooves. There are grooves in there. When you line it up with the groove, tighten it back down, and make sure you check that this is tight. These can loosen up over time. You want to crank that until it maxes out. I've only ever had one loosen up on me on my black labels, and my black labels have over 500 days. For this inside one, we're actually gonna drop it down one click, bring it over. So now it is level with the ASIM wrap, and we are gonna tighten this up. This is all personal preference. Play around with this. Figure out what you like, what you don't like, especially those of you that have instep problems. Now that that's done, we can start talking about adjusting the length of your heel and your toe strap. When it comes to adjusting the length of the heel strap, I like to just give this a few clicks, see where it's sitting. It looks like it's gonna be sitting a little more left. We're gonna pop that tab, slide this a little over while tightening this down. We're gonna go one more click in, flip this up to lock it. Now tighten it down. And as such, we have pretty much centered this strap in there. We want this little cutout on the exoskeleton to be fully over your laces. This will center that in there. This is where you ideally want it. This is how it is going to lock you in. With the toe strap, you do have a push pin system, so you can push down, pull back. These are kind of a pain to use if you don't loosen the front screws a little bit, just so that there's play in there. So if you're gonna do that, you wanna probably play around with it when you're still adjusting the heel cup. But what we want is the toe strap to fully encapsulate the boot. This is a little heavy on the left side. It's pulling a little tighter on the right. So we're gonna release that ratchet, flip this tab down here, slide this out about 2 or 3 clicks, flip it up, tighten this down, and boom. That is now encapsulating the boot perfectly. It is centered. Oxtec really needs to stretch over it. If you do want to run this over the top, you can. Just expect it to bulge a little bit. It will be a little weird. You're going to have to play around with either this tab or the push pin system to get that to dial in.
Do you like what we're doing over here? Do you want to support us further? Swing on over to Angry Snowboarder VIP and become a member. Sure, I could tell you more here, but I got a video over there that explains it so much better. Now, there's just 2 more things you need to do. 1, go watch another video from us. Come on, you know we got content you need to see. And 2, get out there and go snowboard. You're dialed in. Do it. Have fun out there. I know I am.